Is it your job to fill your partner's cup? No, I think that's a dangerous game to say that. I think it's my job to fill my cup first, ask for what I need, be vulnerable, communicate it. But as a partnership, it's the goal to keep the partnership cups filled.
Try to understand who you are and who your partner is at their core and improve and grow from that place instead of trying to change each other. I think trying to change each other is a losing recipe.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode. It was episode number 1643. We all complain, but we talked a lot about sometimes we're complaining, and while we're complaining, the thing we're complaining about is getting worse, and it's hurting us in the long run. It was a very heartfelt, vulnerable episode, because obviously Alan and I are nervous to be villainized, but it was an episode that I think was important to do. Today, for episode number 1644, we're going to talk a little bit about love. We're going to talk in the relationship bucket today. Are you setting unrealistic standards for your partner? One of the biggest mistakes, I'm guilty of this in the past for sure, and I know many of us are, unfortunately, is getting into a relationship with the hope, with the goal, with the wish, with the desire that our partner is going to change everything about themselves over the next month, 6 months, year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is. And then getting to the place where we have extremely unrealistic standards for them based on our own standards that we think they should have. And I always think of it from this frame, Alan. Adam Sandler, in a lot of movies, every single movie he is in, his wife in the movie is pretty much a supermodel. And nothing against Adam Sandler. I'm a fan. But I don't think he's a supermodel on the male end.
No, I would say no.
Those movies are extremely unrealistic.
Yeah.
But it's almost, so I always think of it this way. It would be very, 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 how do I want to frame this? Okay. When we look on Instagram and we look on social media, you're oftentimes seeing the most beautiful specimens on the planet. And I know our minds can quickly say, well, I wish my friends were like that. I wish my partner was like that. I wish my partner did this. I wish my friends did this. I wish my family was like this. And I'll often think to myself, you don't really get to have those type of thoughts unless you're your own version of that. So let's say I see like a bikini model on Instagram. There's no version of me that should ever say, well, I really wish my wife should be more like that while I'm shoving Taco Bell down my throat. It's just not fair. It's just not fair. But I think that's what's happening is we see things that aren't necessarily real, or maybe they are, and then for some reason we download those expectations and say, well, I really wish the people around me were like that, even though we're not like that. I don't think your expectations for your partner should be any higher than the expectations you have for yourself. That's
Agreed.
Not fair. That's unrealistic. That's a losing game.
But it can go the other way too, Ken,
Definitely
where
can.
you have such high expectations for self and no expectations
100%.
whatsoever from your partner.
100%.
And I've been there before, and that's also dangerous.
There's many different ways, and my ultimate goal with this is, look, it's just most likely not going to set you up for a successful relationship on either end. If your partner has unrealistic standards for you, you're probably always going to feel underappreciated and under pressure to do and be a certain way that maybe you didn't sign up for and you don't want to be. Or on the other end, if you're the person setting unrealistic expectations, you're probably going to end up disappointed often and resentful at some level because you're going to say, well, why isn't this person becoming the type of person that I want them to be? Maybe that's not who they are. Maybe that's not who they're supposed to be. Most importantly, maybe that's not who they want to be. So I thought it would be for a valuable episode, excuse me, because I've had this conversation with people before where they'll reach out and bring up something like this. And sometimes the conversation is, look, I know it feels like you and your partner are missing each other in certain arenas, but haven't you always been missing each other in that arena? And you communicated the importance, and maybe the person said, look, it's just not that important for me. Are you setting unrealistic expectations to say, well, I really hope that person eventually comes all the way over to my side when it comes to us missing each other, just as an example?
Kevin and I talked prior to this episode, and what I had shared with him is, I think at the beginning of this journey 7 years ago, we were so hyper focused on excitement for growth and transformation that we were under the impression, at least more than we are now, that you can transform anything you want about yourself. We had what I would refer to as a super growth mindset. So I think of it as, you have a super fixed mindset, which is someone who thinks you can't change anything at all, ever at all. Everything is fixed. You can't change anything about yourself. Next is fixed mindset, which is, I don't really think I can change much. I don't know if I want to change much. I don't think I can change that even if I tried. Growth mindset is, you can change things about yourself, and if you're shy, you can work on being a little less shy. Super growth mindset is what we had, I think, at the beginning. I'll speak for myself. I think I had it at the beginning, which was, you can start out the shyest person ever and end up the most charismatic, outgoing person in the entire world. I no longer fully believe that. I think super growth mindset is a little bit ignorant, and I'm guilty of that. And when it comes to choosing a partner, I think what we sometimes fall into is one of those different categories. In other words, sometimes you have a partner with a fixed mindset and they don't think they can change anything about themselves, which is not true. They can improve. But sometimes you have a partner who has a super growth mindset who thinks, oh, well, my partner can just change that or just transform that. And what I told Kevin prior to this episode is, I would much rather you look at your partner for who they really are to the best of your ability. And Emilia and I coach couples. I was on a relationship talks coaching session earlier, and there's this fundamental understanding now that I have where, who is your partner at their core? Who is your partner? What do they value most? They don't even know why they value it most. Maybe it was from their childhood. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe they've always been this way. What is their core paradigm? What is their core belief? What do they value most? So I was on the relationship talks coaching call earlier, and one of our clients, at her core, we were going through the love languages, and one of them is supporting one's growth. Growth is at her core. It's very, very clear. It's as we coach her, she's so clearly deeply curious and wants to grow and flourish. That's not going to change. And she has a lot of pain associated with past partners who suppressed her growth when they got insecure. And the male in the relationship is unintentionally at times suppressing the growth, which is creating all that stuff. So here's my point. The female in this relationship is growth at her core. It's very clear. She actually started crying when we got to that love language, because that's where most of her pain has come, is she was with a partner that wasn't focused on growth. But here's the thing. What if she was with partners who didn't have growth at their core, and she expected them to be growth-oriented? And that's exactly what you're referring to, Kev, is we don't fully know ourselves, so then we get into a relationship with someone who's the yin to our yang, so to speak, and then we wonder why they're not like us. And I don't think that you can change all of who you are anymore. I think you can uncover it, and I think you can grow it, and I think you can improve it, but I don't think you can fully change it. I think if someone is growth at their core, I seriously doubt that's ever going to change. Whether it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now or 15 years from now, it's probably not going to change. And if someone is super fixed mindset, doesn't want to grow at all, not super achievement oriented, doesn't have goals and dreams, you can't get into a relationship. You can't get into a relationship with that person and then hope that with the presupposition that you hope that changes, because it might not. They might never have big goals and dreams. Maybe they're not supposed to. I don't know. Maybe they want to be more present, or maybe they want to do something different. And so the old me would have been saying, I think that everyone needs to be more growth minded, and I think that the world would be a better place if that was the case. I do still believe the world would be a better place if we all focused on improving who we are, and that I'm going to stick to. But improving who we are is predicated on who you actually are. And who you actually are might not be who your partner wants you to be or maybe thought you were. And I think that's when acceptance needs to come in of who your partner actually is, and then let them improve from that place rather than some fictitious pedestal version that you fell in love with that might not ever have been real.
It's such a challenging thing because it's dangerous to say it would be really nice if that statement starts to become something that you have expectations on. I don't ever want Taryn to be an entrepreneur, ever. But I know a lot of entrepreneurs who do want their partner to be an entrepreneur because maybe they're looking for that camaraderie, or they're looking for the understanding. It's very hard to understand what it's like to be an entrepreneur unless you've been an entrepreneur. Just like I'm sure it's very hard to be a parent if you've never been a parent, or it's very hard to be this job if you've never done it, or whatever it is. If you've never been to this place, I'm sure it's hard to imagine what that would be like. So I can understand why that would be a thing, but it's almost like if it's not what's best, there's a big difference between what's best for you and what's best for your partner. And I think that, to your point, the acceptance piece of it is very powerful, but there is over-acceptance too. So as always, it's trying to figure out what is the unique spot for you. And then the other thing is asking yourself, well, do you actually want what comes with that? So yes, sure, in this example, the person that I talked to in the past said, well, it'd be really cool if my partner was an entrepreneur. Awesome, cool. Is it also cool if the night that you finish early, your partner is working until 10 o'clock that night, or is that going to suck? Or is that going to be something you're willing to deal with? Our expectations and what we want out of someone always comes with an other side of it too. And usually you don't see that until you experience it long enough, and then you see the downsides of it. That's another important facet of this whole thing. It's a weird thing because obviously we all want to improve if we're listening to this show, and we all want our partners to improve in the ways that they want to improve, and sometimes in the ways that they know they should improve, but they don't necessarily want to. Same for me, right? I have things I don't necessarily want to improve, but I must in order to get the goals that I have set. But it gets dangerous when it becomes an expectation.
You know what's interesting? Sorry to interrupt
No, you're
you.
good. Don't ever do it again, but this one time is fine.
Well, that's a part of who I am, so you have to accept
that. That is a good example, honestly. That is a good example.
So there's a big difference between me saying, Kev, you're my business partner, and I want to try to change you, versus I think a healthy thing would be I can help Kevin improve who he is.
I agree with that.
See the difference between one, I'm trying to change him, and the other one, I'm trying to help him become a better version of himself.
Well, do you think you and I would ever work as long as we have if we didn't understand pretty quickly that Alan is this way and Kevin is this way, and we're going to work on strengthening those things and just making sure that we secure any of the holes that thing causes?
100%. And I think we did a very good job of that. I think there have been a few tough moments with you and I that we that we had to drive to 5. But how do I articulate this? There are certain things about me that are inherent to my nature, that are natural for me, that come with a downside that you consider a pain in the ass. Fair. And vice versa.
Yes.
And vice versa. But I think that what maturity is understanding that you can't have the wonderful part without the pain in the ass part. And I think that that's what a mature relationship is. Whether it's a business partnership or an intimate relationship, you kind of have to understand, well, I want her to be entrepreneurial and super goal-oriented, but I don't want her working late. It's right. What are we doing in Candyland here? You know? Well, I want her focused on me at the end of the night. Oh, well, she also has a business to take care of now. And I just think that wanting someone to be someone different than who they are at their core is always going to be a losing game, rather than, hey, I accept you and I love you unconditionally for who you are, but hey, also, this is who I am, and let's try to find a way to find a win-win scenario here. And I think that in the past, you can only really know who someone is to the extent that you know yourself, but also the human condition in general. So, for example, when you and I were younger, I mean, think about a girlfriend you had when you were in your teens. Okay, so we didn't know anything about what we were or weren't. Like, I didn't know what I was. Okay, I was academic. You were an athlete. You were funny, and I was driven. Okay, that's about as deep as it went. What else did we know about ourselves? Let's be honest.
Not much.
Yeah.
Not
okay,
much.
so, think about your girlfriend at the time. Girlfriend in high school. Okay, what was she? Like, give me 3 or 4 sentences.
Athletic.
Okay, athletic.
Funny. Also.
Funny. Yeah.
What was the third one you said about me? I think you only gave me 2, you son of a bee.
I think I said athletic, funny.
That was it.
That was it. Yeah,
those 2.
Okay, she was athletic and funny too?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Made sense.
All right, now, from hindsight, from this awareness, what is very clear to you now? Just give me one example that's very clear to you now that you had no idea back then.
Yeah, far more family-oriented and driven by having children and a family than I ever would have been.
Okay, and you ended up screwing up that relationship by saying that you don't never want to get married.
Yes.
And if you don't mind me outing
you're good.
he's shared that publicly before.
Yeah,
so
you're good.
I'm okay.
Next level nation, what is happening? If you've thought to yourself, I want to try coaching, but you don't really know where to start, group coaching would be a wonderful place for you. That's really why we created it in the first place. We start a new round every 90 days. So if you're hearing this, go to the website, nextleveluniverse.com, and we have the landing page where you can actually hold your spot right now. Even if there's a group going on right now, you can still lock your spot for the next one. The biggest thing that we've seen is as we get closer and closer to the date, unfortunately, some people end up missing. The group fills up and they can't do it, and then they end up regretting that. So please head over to the website. The link will be in the show notes, and we would love to see you there.
But here's my point. You didn't know that back then because you weren't aware of that as a thing, really.
No.
And so you couldn't have found a compatible mate, for lack of better phrasing. So inevitably, we are bound to screw up in this. And so I think my lesson underneath all that is, if you got into your relationship 15 years ago and you didn't know what love languages were, and you didn't know the difference between an achiever and someone who is more family-oriented, then obviously you're going to run into these challenges when you become aware of them, and then maybe you want to change this person, when in reality, that's not fair to your partner because they've always been this way.
Yeah. And it's not sustainable.
Right.
It's not.
But you also might not want to settle. Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
You might, on the other end of that, you said over-acceptance. If you accept someone that, so it's both ends. One end, you're being kind of toxic because you want your partner to change who they are when it's not fair to them. The other end is you're just accepting them for whoever they are, even if they're being kind of a crappy partner. And I think that you got to be careful about which end you're on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it all starts with honesty. Just, hey, this is what I value. Taryn is never going to want to watch UFC like I do. It's never going to happen. And I have no hopes or aspirations of that ever happening because I don't think that would be good for her. Just like there are things that I'm just not going to be as naturally pulled towards. I'm just not. But it doesn't mean we can't meet somewhere in the middle and say, I know I've been watching a lot of UFC lately, and it's just, is it your job to fill your partner's cup? No, I think that's a dangerous game to say that. I think it's my job to fill my cup first, ask for what I need, be vulnerable, communicate it. But as a partnership, it's the goal to keep the partnership cups filled. And I think you do that as a partnership, as a relationship. If I know that I've really been getting my quality time with Kev cup filled, I should be aware of the fact that maybe that means another cup is emptying faster. Or when, say Tara and I do 7 things in a week and I know the quality time, fun, unique experience cup is overflowing, maybe I need to fill one of my own cups. But I just think that's a partnership conversation.
Let me ask you this. So
you can ask me whatever you want.
You had thank you.
You're welcome.
You had a situationship
that
you talked about.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to illuminate?
Oh, Lord.
I know. One thing that is evident now. Okay, you basically were like, listen, this isn't it for me, and I know it.
Yeah.
What was it that you knew? It's not like you were trying to be unkind because you liked this person.
Yeah.
It's not about that. But you knew that it wouldn't work. You knew that this wasn't it for you. How did you know that? And was the reason you knew that because... Okay, so I'm going to bring all the listeners behind the scenes. Kevin's always been very good at predicting relationships, whether or not they would fail or succeed. Very, very good. As a matter of fact, I don't think you've really been wrong about any of that. In the last 7 years, there's been a lot of that. Now, I think why you could predict it is because you could see people at their core, and you knew that they weren't going to change. Is that fair?
I would say that's fair, or the undertone oftentimes... I think I'm very good at recognizing disrespect in a relationship. The undertone of disrespect, you can hear somebody say something in a certain way, and you can say, that's a red flag. And there's no way that's the first time they said it. They just said it around me one time. No way. There's no way. The odds of that are so low. So there's something...
I don't have that on my radar like you do.
Being disrespected is one of the things that's like one of my... I don't know where it comes from, but that's like one of my deepest things. I cannot stand it. I cannot stand being disrespected. It bothers me to my core. I think it makes me feel unseen. Like when I get disrespected, it makes me feel unseen and to be made less than. So it's always kind of on my radar.
My goodness. Okay. To follow this up, that wasn't your person. You knew it. That wasn't what you wanted long term.
Yeah.
Okay. What was it that you noticed that indicated that for you?
They thought the podcast thing and the entrepreneur thing and the business thing was kind of cute, but they didn't support it. They were okay with it and they were positive about it, but I know deep down that person didn't believe in what we were doing.
Okay, wow.
That was a big piece of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you felt a little bit disrespected when it came to your career.
Yeah, I would say
this
so.
mission.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, and so you knew that, and how did you know that wasn't going to change?
I don't know, because again, I try to be as real as possible. There's a piece of me that's like, I don't really blame you. I don't have anything to show for it. Really, I don't have anything to show, and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think I was willing to... I just didn't want to have to explain myself. This was hard enough. I didn't want to have to explain myself.
What was different with Taryn, if you don't mind me asking?
She knew me before. That's always...
No, but she supported this.
Yeah, but I knew she would. She believed... Because she believed in me long before I was doing any of this. Like, she always believed in me.
So that other person didn't believe in you as much as Taryn?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. I've met very few people who believe in me as much as Taryn. I mean, you're one of them. Matt's another one, but my wife literally hooked her future to me and us. You know, she's got... You want to talk about having skin in the game? There aren't many people that have more skin in the game than her, other than me and you. So she's all in on NLU.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
See?
I appreciate that, Taryn. It's good. It's real good. Yeah. I don't know where I'm going with any of that, but that makes me smile.
Yeah. And there were just other things too. Like when you meet someone, you and I were talking about this. We'll get off here in a couple minutes. We were talking about this before. When you first meet someone, you can fake it for a while. You can fake your core values and your core beliefs and your love languages. You can fake a lot of stuff in the beginning. I'm not saying you should, but I think we're trying to show our best selves. Like, yeah, I love going out and doing this. I love... Tara and I went for a walk recently, and I was like, you know how I know most people are liars? And she said, why? And I said, because back in the day when I'd be on a dating app, every single person loved hiking. And any of those people I ever dated, I don't know if we ever went on any hikes. And nobody was knocking down doors to get it done. And it was a joke, and we were having a good time with it. But it sounds good on a dating profile. Yeah, I love hikes. Like, okay, when's the last one you went on? Well, I don't know. I can't remember, but I love them. Okay.
I love them, though.
You know, it's like I love cooking. When's the last time you cooked? Oh, it's been years. Yeah, no, it's been years. But there's not a day that goes by where I don't think about it. So yeah,
if you loved cooking, you would cook.
it could. Yeah, I know
And
how.
I
to
don't
cook.
like cooking, so I don't cook.
But that's just an example of I think sometimes we put our best
of
foot
course.
forward as we should, but eventually it starts to when we get comfortable, that's when the truth comes out. And I'm not saying it's a negative thing. Maybe the truth is you're vulnerable and you're warm and loving, and that's something you were afraid to do in the beginning. I don't think truth coming out is always a bad thing.
Yeah.
What's your next level nugget before we let the people go?
Mine is try to understand who you are and who your partner is at their core and improve and grow from that place instead of trying to change each other. I think trying to change each other is a losing recipe.
I would agree. I would say be very careful if your expectations of others are higher than your own expectations of yourself. I'm not saying they can't. I don't know. I haven't explored the thought, but if
I
you're
think a lot of our listeners have the opposite problem.
I know. That's why it's always hard to do these episodes because I think you unfortunately are probably on the other end of it.
Yeah.
Where somebody has
Your partner has higher expectations
Yeah.
of you than they have of
why
themselves.
why haven't you how many times did you go to the gym this week? 3 times? How come you didn't go 5 times? Like the person sitting on the couch cracking open a Coors Light. They don't even have a gym membership. Well, no, maybe next week I'll get there 5. Yeah, no, that's fair.
That's brutal right there.
It's I think it's an unfortunate, sad truth. Not truth, experience for many. Unfortunately. But I guess my next level nugget, yeah, that would be it. If somebody is setting higher expectations of you than they are themselves, that's a tough place to be. And just like being on the other end, I don't know. Are you going to have someone who's disappointed in you forever? I don't know. That's a really tough place to be. So maybe that's worth exploring. If you have not yet joined our private Facebook group, Next Level Nation, and you're looking for a group of positive humans, please do so. The engagement in there has been amazing. So if you're listening and you're already a part, thank you so much for being a piece of the community and engaging on the content. Amy, shout out to you for putting in such wonderful content, and shout out to the team, for engaging as well. You want to say? You'd like to say kind of a few words to the people, or
I don't know if any of the listeners have noticed, so I'm getting over a cold currently, and so I've got a lot of stuff in my throat, so I needed to try not to cough right there.
Okay.
Book club every Saturday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next Level Books with Next Level people.
Nice.
We hope you join us. It has been magnificent lately. We are currently reading The Courage to Be Disliked. I know a lot of you struggle with the fear of judgment. I definitely do as well. And The Courage to Be Disliked, the idea is when you are willing to be villainized, you are now free to be yourself. Whereas if you're constantly contorting yourself to try to get other people's approval, you're in trouble. So that's the book we're talking about, and the link to register will be in the show notes.
Tomorrow for episode number 1645. I don't know if this is going to be the title, but I want to talk about resting your mind versus resting your body. Alan and I were talking about this. Sometimes the things that are the best for your mind are the most taxing on your body. What are you smiling about?
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
Probably because I do it wrong all the time.
I don't know if there is a right or wrong. So we'll explore that. That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Grow who you really are. Next Level Nation.